Good morning, my name is Nathan Long, and today we're going to talk a little bit about who I am and exactly how I became that way. So first off, have you ever been with a group of people and decided you wanted to go out to lunch, but you can't find out what you want to eat? You've got the guy that wants to go to the buffet, you've got another person that wants to go to Chili's, and then you've got the one guy in the crowd that wants to go eat off the dollar menu. That's me. You may call me cheap. I don't consider myself cheap. I consider myself frugal. So why am I that way? I would argue that it's not one event in my life. I would argue that it's a series of events throughout my life that have made me this way. So first off, going back to my childhood, my parents never had a lot of money. Everybody got to go to the movies as soon as a new movie came out. I had to wait 6 weeks to go to the dollar theater. In addition, one of the most common things in my house was the phone ringing off the hook. Not because I had older brothers and sisters, but because of the fact that I had debt collectors calling 5 out of every 10 times that phone call rang. At the time, I thought it was a joke because we could play games, we could say, oh, they died, or they moved on to another location, or sometimes we just put the phone on hold for 30 minutes and see if they actually hung around long enough to talk to us. Again, at this time, I thought it was nothing more than a game, but later in my life, I started to feel the consequences of that type of lifestyle. When I got my first job, I spent my money exactly how my family did. Money in, money out. I got money, I went and I spent it on frivolous things. I never saved anything. I never did anything with it. And I didn't think two things of it. But about 6 months into that working experience, I found out that my brother, who had gone off to college, had to drop out of college due to the fact that he had financial issues. This was the first point in my life that I realized if I didn't change the way I thought about money, I was going to end up the same way as my parents and end up the same way as my brother, who was already dropping out of college. Fast forward a couple years later, I graduate high school, I join the military, and I move out on my own. My goal was not necessarily to save money, but not spend beyond my means. I had money, I had credit cards, but I made sure that I had enough money to pay off those credit cards every month. I thought I was being rather responsible. About 6 months after joining the military, a big eye-opener occurred. My motorcycle, my one and only means of transportation, got stolen, and I didn't have any insurance. So here I am trying to be the responsible person, and my motorcycle gets stolen, and I have no insurance. I'm $5,000 in the hole. I realized that I had to change my life. I couldn't just look at what I'm doing now. I have to look for the future. Luckily for me, a week later, they recovered my motorcycle. It wasn't in operating condition, but I got my motorcycle back. Even though it wasn't running, I took money and I got full coverage insurance on that bike. And then I went forward and I fixed it up and I started riding it. 2 weeks after I finished fixing my bike up, it got stolen again. But this time I was prepared. I had insurance. The insurance paid me $6,000. So I took a scenario where I was going to be down $5,000 and I walked away with $1,000 extra in my pocket. This helped reinforce that idea that I couldn't live in the moment. I had to plan for the unexpected. It wasn't simply enough to live within my means, but I had to plan for those rainy days so that I wasn't stuck out in the rain with no plan. So again, if you had asked me when I was 5 years old, would I grow up to be a responsible adult? I would have said no. I would have been a kid for the rest of my life. But these several events throughout my life have molded me into what I call being frugal, not being cheap. Thank you very much.